Hey everybody, Scoutcrafter here again. Just had our first snowfall here in New York City, that is. And it was nice. Just came back from shoveling. We're going to get too much accumulation. And you know what's funny about snow is you can get tired of it real quick after shoveling for a while. Anyway, today we're going to do something that I'm cleaning up, and I come across this vise I bought a couple years ago, and there's a big controversy surrounding it. For those of you that like vices, you're going to love this one. Let's go check it out.
And here it is. Now, for those of you who are like vices, you're probably saying, boy, that looks like a Wilton baby bullet. Well, you know, you wouldn't be far off when you say that. This is a York Model 100 vise made in the Czechoslovakia. And what's so interesting about this vise is there's a lot of controversy and history that goes with this. This was the predecessor for the baby bullet. I'll go through it, but first of all, we're not going to restore this vise today, but what we're going to do is clean it up and then talk about the controversy. So you can see it's dirty. So we're going to take it apart, lube it, clean it, and then decide what we want to do. Okay, so here we are. You know how easy these things come apart, especially when they're in pretty good shape. This one's in relatively good shape. It was an old guy at a hardware store had it. He passed away, and it came to this guy. I bought it from a Jacktown. I paid $45 for the vise, and it still had a tag on it when I got it, and you could see it still has the York sticker on here, which I'm not crazy about, but there's a pin. This pin is what takes out the drive screw here, and you can see the threads are in excellent shape. But all we're going to do, like I said, we're just going to clean it up, lubricate it, put it back together, and then we're going to talk about the controversy surrounding this vise. Okay, I had no intentions of taking the jaws off, but they were just asking to be taken off. Now, just let me show you, in case you ever get one of these, how these go on. The jaw, it's pretty straightforward, 2 screws, but there's an alignment pin that all it does is it sticks into here, and that aligns the jaw. And you know what? I'm not crazy about the design because, you know, it puts a hole in the jaw here, and a lot of times when you're clamping something up, that could get mangled. But anyway, it's there for a reason, I guess. So we're going to clean these up now and get to the lubrication. Now you know my favorite part. Remember what this looked like before we started. A little bit of cleaning, a little bit of lubrication. And we're calling this project done. Like I said, I just wanted to do a nice cleaning on here because this is an original vise. But again, I don't know, you know, my I change like the wind. I just did this to hold this over until I decide what I want to do with it. But you can see this is what you would call like a conservation thing, where you just put it back to where it was original. There was some overspray on there. We took off as much as we could, but other than that, the vise is really in decent shape, and now it's all lubricated and put back to normal. Let me tell you about the controversy around this vise. Now, about 1934, mid-30s, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Donnell, he invents this vise, okay, in the mid-30s, and he worked for York Vise Company, okay? Now, York goes back to 1921, this company. They made millions of vices that are around the world. It's a big company, okay? Now, what happens is, fast forward to 1941, World War II starts, and a gentleman by the name of Vogel comes over here and to the United States, and he starts a vise company. Now, here's where the controversy begins. Vogel, they only say about him that he was a Czechoslovakian immigrant. You know, they don't say anything else about him. Turns out he had direct relationship with this vise company, with York, and we don't know. Some people say he was a salesman for York. Other people say that he used to buy these vices for some, but he did have a connection with York Vise Company. And when he came here, he patents this same style vise, and he patents it and starts the Wilton Vise Company. Now, the company, he said that how it's supposedly Wilton got the name is that he was standing on a street corner, and when they asked him what the name of his company was, he looked up and saw the sign and said Wilton. But, you know, who knows how much of that is true. But anyway, so the bullet vise that we know of that is so sought after today was actually kind of controversial in saying who invented it, you know, because there was that person in 1934 that invented almost identical vise. So, you know, that's where the controversy is. Now, if you notice on the top here, you could see here very faintly stamped. You could see it says made in Czechoslovakia. You can also see Moravia written there. Now, these jaws are still, today, you can still get them from the company, and they're identical, and they are a pretty hard steel. You can see here they were chipped off, so somebody was either banging on here, because I heard they do have a Rockwell of in the high 40s, close to 50 Rockwell hard. So let me tell you some good things about this type of vise. Now, some of the nice features of this vise is, first of all, this was considered their machinist vise, and for a certain reason is that their drive thread for the drive spindle here is fully encased in this round tube here, so that you don't get chips into the threads of the drive thread. But another good thing is because it's round, any chips or anything that does fall on here would tend to fall off, where when you have that big square one, a lot of times they would build up. So that was a nice feature here over here. Secondly, you know, this is, you know, again, it's very smooth. You can see I'm operating it one finger, again, all lubricated up. The jaws do close nice and straight and tight. They were nice vices. This one has the original mill marks you could see here from the factory, so I didn't take any of them apart. But, you know, I just got it back to the way it looks original. It's funny because as much as I like red, I never liked red on this vise. I always thought that this vise had such lines that you could really do a nice paint job on here. Especially, you see how York has in the back of York, how you could make the background a different color here. I mean, you could really do this vise up nice. So let me know what you think in the comments, or whether or not you think I should, I never liked that sticker. I always thought that was the chintziest looking sticker going. I hate stickers on a vise, so, you know, I would like to redo this up, but this is the way it came original. I just want to introduce you to it and show you, because a lot of people never heard of it before. It is a, you know, the predecessor of the bullet vise, the Wilton bullet vise. Okay, next up, I just wanted to talk real quick about a subject before we end the video. I had a good friend of mine. I was just thinking about him the other day. His name was George, and he lived next door to me. And George passed away from cancer, and he wasn't an old man. He was like 65, but he had kidney cancer, same thing that got my dad. And George, before he passed, he wanted to do a lot of things that brought back good times in his life. And one of them, you know, we talked all the time. We used to do astronomy. We used to do photography, all kinds of things together. But George wanted to build a visible V8. And do you remember, back in the 60s, there was a company called Renwall, made a visible V8. It's an engine, an American engine. And this engine was amazing because it was you know, completely visible, and you built it, and it was almost like building a real model engine, and or a real engine, but just in smaller scale and in plastic. And what was interesting is it had all kinds of things like moving pistons, and the spark plugs would light up to show you that, and how they fire in the sequence, and how they fired, how to distribute a cap, had everything you needed. And a lot of you out there know exactly what I'm talking about. And the good thing is they still make that kit today. Revell bought them over in, I think, 75. And so they still make the kit today. You could still get it. But what's interesting, and a lot of people don't know about, that I want to tell you about, and George and I used to talk about this, was they also made the visible V8 made a chassis that would go along with this engine. Renwall made this kit. And now it's like a collectible. You can't even find it. And if you can, it's a few $100s. But it was an actual chassis. I think it was like quarter scale or fifth scale, the same size as the engine. And what this chassis would do is it was a working chassis. And there's a video of a man that who has one of these chassis, and he put his V8 in there. And I don't know if you've never seen it before. I think you'd really enjoy it. And I'm going to put the link in the description. So if you can, if you have the inkling to,
check out the chassis that went with this visible V8 engine that, you know, most of us never get to see. I've never seen one in person, and I just think it's the coolest thing. And that's what the difference is with the, you know, the kids years ago that had toys. I mean, look at what they were doing compared to, you know, video games today, which really don't teach you anything, but amazing stuff. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you have a nice weekend. Take care now, and we'll see you again on Monday. Bye-bye.